Oh, the avoids at the end of this episode are something else. So we have 9 fantastic games, 1 hidden gem, and 2 avoids for you. Hi guys, welcome back to SwitchUp. Today we have got, courtesy of 11-Bit Studios, 6 copies of Children of Morta to give away. I've already given away 4 copies on the Discord, and there's still 6 more to go. They are US region keys, so you've either got to set up a US region eShop on your Switch, which is really quite easy, or live in the US. 2 for this video, and then we'll do 1 each for the upcoming and the sales video for next week. To take part, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, do make sure your notifications are on, and we'll be announcing the winner in a community post, so that it gives everyone a chance to take part. Just leave your comments, and then we'll just pick some winners. Thanks to everyone that subscribed. We've had a nice little influx over the last week or so. If you enjoy these sales videos, then stick around. What's on sale this week? Well, let's find out. First up then, we've got Moonlighter, the complete edition from 11-Bit Studios. I know quite a few of you picked this up when it was on sale the other day, but this is the lowest price it's ever had, so it's dropped down again. At the moment it's about $8.50, this complete edition or your regional equivalent, and the sale goes on until April the 27th. It obviously includes the base Moonlighter game, as well as the Between Dimensions expansion that adds to that main experience by filling current dungeons with new creatures, populating all new interdimensional dungeons with mini bosses, and adding in loads of new weapons, etc. to sell in your shop. Now, if you're not sure of how the game works, I've kind of alluded to it there. Essentially, you go through your dungeons in a very similar kind of, a bit like a Zelda, but it's a bit more difficult, and there's an end boss to fight at the end. But if you fall early, or if you decide to head back to town, you can take any of the loot that you've gathered from enemies and then deck out your nice little shop and sell these during the day. It's such a cool game. I say it every time, but the best aspect for me is that music. It has a beautiful soundtrack. It's a 1.9 gigabyte download, so it's not massive, but at that price, it's an absolute steal and should be in everyone's collection. It's 70% off. As I say, it's all-time best price. Then there's Children of Morta. Now, we did a sponsored video for this the other day, covering a brand new DLC, which essentially I termed it Hades mode, but it's very similar to like Hades, The Binding of Isaac, and it adds in a free, entirely new game mode that's separate from the main game and storyline. I was blown away by the amount of extra content they've added for absolutely nothing. Now, there are a couple of DLCs for this one. In terms of gameplay, it has 1 or 2 player local co-op. You directly control the characters, but it very much reminded me of old school Diablo in terms of its gameplay, and at half price, I mean, it's a steal to say the least. I'll pop a link to our coverage of that free expansion because it might just tip you over the edge, or our full review. I'll stick a link to that as well down in the top pinned comment and the description. It comes from developer Dead Mage, is published by 11-Bit. Thanks to those guys for sponsoring that video, and we said we'd throw it in this one as well because it is well worth picking up at this price. It's a 2.1 gigabyte download, and in terms of length, you've got about 30 hours of gameplay here, plus that new content they've just released. I mean, you could add that on again. That sale goes on till April the 27th. Same studio, different game, equally awesome. 80% off. This War of Mine, the complete edition, is one of Glen's favourite games on the platform. It is available elsewhere, but the Switch is a great way to play it. What is it? Well, it's quite serious actually. I think, if I remember correctly, it was based on the Siege of Sarajevo, but it sees you controlling a family, I guess, or at least a group of individuals living together within a house, and you'll have to send them out to scavenge for gear, and you'll be looking after all of their needs as well. It also included the Little Ones DLC, which allows you to play the game from the perspective of a child, and I think we covered, or at least did some promo work for their expansion, This War of Mine Stories, which was a full set of 3 new stories set in the world. Incredible game. I've given it a bit of extra time because it's so awesome, and at this price, I mean, it's insanely cheap. It's 4 gigabytes, you're looking at about 30 to 40 hours of gameplay, and it's definitely worth your time. Next up then, we've got Atelier Ryza, Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout, or you can go for the Digital Deluxe Edition, which is about $6 more, your regional equivalent, but either way, these are excellent games. They're probably the most fleshed out and user-friendly of the Atelier series, which has over 20 titles in it, and you don't need to have played the other games to jump in with Ryza. I guess you should know that this is a thick title, so it's going to take up a lot of your time. Make sure... Oh dear, did I get away with that? Make sure that you have space on your SD card, 6 gigs, and space in your schedule because it's going to take about 60 hours to work your way through. If you haven't seen it, the sequel is also out on Switch, so it's well worth doing this one first because the second carries on where this left off really. 50% off, and that's until April the 15th. Also down to its lowest ever price, we've got Immortals Fenyx Rising. Now this is funny because it seems to have split people. Some, like myself, absolutely love it, and others just don't. You didn't really get on with it, and that's fine. It's not really a problem. It is what it is. Now, it's half price physically and it's half price digitally. So you can get it in whichever way you prefer. But you essentially play as Fenyx, a demigod who's designed by yourself, and then you're let loose into the world. It's split into different areas, and in each of those you have to help out a god who's suffered in some way. I believe there's been a massive update for this. If I'm not mistaken, you can let me know down in the comments. But I know they did a lot for performance. They worked a lot on performance at launch, and probably in some of the footage you're seeing from my initial review. Performance wasn't great, but they went back and worked to streamline that, and then they've included with the Season Pass and ughhhh DLC and Myths of the Eastern Realm. I haven't actually played those two yet, so yeah, if you can, let me know down in the comments how do they play out, and is it worth it for those people considering picking up this on sale. You're looking at a download size of 16 gigs and a completion time of around about 60 hours. That sale goes on until April the 15th. Then we've got the Persistence, which I believe Glen's been playing his way through and he recommends it. But also I know Switch Corner reviewed this one and he thought it was decent as well. This one comes from Fire Sprite Games, is 3.3 gigs, and if I remember correctly it was originally on VR, but it's actually a very interesting sci-fi first-person survival horror. I'm pretty sure you play as a clone and you'll be dying over and over again and gradually figuring out what you have to do to defeat the enemies you'll find and repair the systems to prevent that ship from being torn apart. Now, strangely, it actually includes a slightly unusual multiplayer aspect where you can connect a phone or a tablet running iOS or Android to the game so that up to 2 players can take control of Solex, essentially allowing them to control the engineering system. I don't know how that works, but it sounds interesting and is potentially something that you might not know about even if you own the game. That sale is 66% off and it goes on until April the 16th. It's funny because some games, they're almost, I don't know how to say this, but they're almost better than their review score. So they almost have something about them that transcends a scoring system. And while Blasphemous, it did well on the channel in terms of its score, I like the game more than its score, if that makes sense. It's got a very cool, interesting art style. You play as the penitent one who's a sole survivor of the massacre of the Silent Sorrow. And yeah, look, the gameplay's not perfect. I'll pop a link to Glen's full review down below, but some of the boss fights are awesome and it's suitably dark and macabre. This is its lowest ever price. It's 60% off, taking it down to 8 quid, which is a steal. It's a 6 gigabyte download and it will take you around about 25 hours to complete. Now, I can't remember, I feel like there was DLC added for this one, but I can't see any. So maybe there's some DLC coming or it's just not listed here. You'll have to let me know in the comments. But a decent single player game. Just make sure you get it before April the 15th. Disclaimer, this one is US only unless you want to buy the physical copy, which is slightly reduced on Amazon in other regions, and it's God Eater free. If you've got on well with Ryza, but let's say Monster Hunter Rise was your first Monster Hunter and you've enjoyed that slightly easier, I guess, to get into gameplay, I think you'd like God Eater 3. There's a lot of similar concepts here. It's very fast paced, it has online for up to 8 players, and you'll be zipping all over the place. It's a very aerial title. You have different burst arts and dive attacks that you can use, and essentially you'll be showing off as you try and take down these huge creatures. They are known as the Aragami, and there's some really nice designs here. Overall, it's a very cool game. It feels like you're playing an anime. Comes from Bandai Namco. It's a 14 gigabyte download, so it's pretty chunky, but at 75% off. I did say I'd mention it. I think someone said in the comments, can you let us know next time it's on sale? So yeah, it's on sale and it's 75% off, which is the lowest it's ever been. So well worth picking up. And more than likely, I'll be using it for the thumbnail. So yeah, probably it is the thumbnail. That sale goes on until the 22nd of April. Finishing up then, we'll look at Ni no Kuni and Tales of Vesperia. I'm going to put them together. And these are US region only as well. They're 75% off, so Ni no Kuni is down to $12.49, and Tales of Vesperia, well, it's $12.49 as well. Good luck making your mind up which one to choose, or just buy them both. Vesperia, 130 hours to do everything, classic style RPG gameplay. Ni no Kuni, 92 hours to do everything. It has a bit of a Pokemon-esque feel to it. There is quite a bit of heavy grinding at certain points, but it's part and parcel of an RPG, isn't it? I know what you're going to say, which one should I get then out of the two? I bought them both. So I can't help. Which one do I prefer? I prefer the art style of Ni no Kuni, and I probably prefer the gameplay of Vesperia. So I'll leave the rest up to you. Good luck. And the last one in the list before we look at the avoids is always the hidden gem of the week. This time around it is the Bug Butcher. Never heard of it? Well, it's a bit like Pang, but with bugs. And yeah, that's that's essentially it. It's very, very similar. It's got solo or local co-op play. There's 30 different levels, 5 boss fights. There's online leaderboards, so you can try and embarrass your mates. And personally, I prefer this art style to Pang Adventures. I believe that's also on sale though, and they're both incredible games. So addictive, so much fun, and also quite easy to pick up and play. You don't have to think, oh, I have to finish this one. It's a very good loading game, aka one you can play to help you decide what you really want to do your long session on. It's its all-time lowest price, 75% off, and that's until April the 15th. It's time then to open the dark door to the murky cellar and take a few steps down into the waist-deep detritus that is the lower dregs of the Nintendo eShop. And first up we have Balls Out. Balls Out. Yeah, that's Balls Out. And Balls Out is all about keeping your balls in and getting your opponent out. Clearly based on a very famous old game, but everything about it is just shovelware. Look at this. The way you can customize your balls with a cheap skin. The movement of everything is so incredibly tacky as you take it in turns to roll your balls into the scoring zone in the middle. I actually listened to some poor soul do a full review of this, and he said it's not bad at £2, but when you feel ripped off at that price, you know it's not great. And I think we'll move on from there. And last but not least, and slightly eroding my soul, is Zombie Apocalypse. Let's take a look at the artwork of this one. The premise goes that horrible zombies are attacking, as opposed to nice ones. As the most rewarded zombie fighter, you've been designated to find, blast and kill them anywhere they hide. Make your way from cemetery to city suburbs and desolate landscapes for mankind's relief. Well, it doesn't actually say for mankind's relief, it says for mankind relief, which feels wrong. Either way, look, you asked me a couple of weeks ago, can you say a bit more about the game so that I know why I should avoid it? Do I really need to say any more? The assets used are appalling. The visuals, the animation. I mean, it would be funny to buy it for someone and say, hey, I got you Call of Duty Zombies, and then, you know, watch their disappointed face and the Switch as it sails through the air. But other than that, I don't see any upside to this one. Other than it's a small download of 177 megs. Don't buy it. And yes, your name's Jagger from the forums. Jagger, you'd love this. Pick it up, mate. 50% off, bargain. And that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you so much as always. We have been given a copy of Stardew Valley as well by Cultured Bucket, but I think we'll save that one until maybe next week's video or the week after, because everyone wants to give you guys codes at the moment, so we've got the codes coming out of our ears. A big thanks to our patrons who support the channel each and every month, especially as times are tough, and yeah, it really does help us out. And as always, for all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!